Alright, today we will be swapping out the electronics out of a Systema PTW. Right now we still have 08 spec stuff in here right now, but we'll be using an 08 spec upgrade to go into this to just replace some older stuff that we want to get out of there and replace it with new stuff to make sure everything goes well. So one of the first things you're going to do is, as you can see, we've already removed the upper receiver, and we've also removed the buffer tube and everything back here. When you do that, just be careful. There's a little spring back here that might fly out, and you don't want to cut your wires. We don't care because we're throwing this in the trash, but you may need it later on. Also, you can see we've removed the grip, and one of the soldered on wires has already fallen off. Not a big deal for us because we'll be replacing all of that anyway. So one of the things you'll do is you'll need to use a small screwdriver or something to push out the motor pins that hold the motor into the lower receiver. And after you do that, you should be able to twist the motor like so and pull it out. It may cause an issue with the wires. If so, then you may need to take the wires off before you do that. So that's what we're going to do right now, is take off the one wire that's still there. So we're using the soldering iron. Just come in here and heat it up until I'm able to break it loose. Just like that. So now we've got the entire motor off. Set that aside. Don't need it right now. Next thing we'll do is to get the ECU out of the gearbox, we'll need to push a pin that holds the bolt catch in. So, got a small screwdriver. I can push the pin out and very carefully pull out the bolt stop so that the small spring does not go flying. It's hard to find. And after that, you should be able to lift up on the small ECU. I normally just use a very small flathead to very carefully pry up on it, and it should just lift right out of the gearbox. So now I'm there. Need to pull up this little piece here, and that's the wires that go back to the MOSFET. And I'm going to come in here with the small flathead, and I'm going to pop off little connectors just very carefully. I'm going to pry up on it until it pops out of the ECU slot. So this here is your selector board, and this will be the MOSFET board or wire. We'll pull that out. See, so there's the old ECU. Pull out motor wires. So right now, this wire does not want to pull through the small hole because it has a large amount of solder grouped onto it. As previously stated, we will not be reusing this, so I'm actually just going to cut it off so that I can get it through the hole in the body. Just like that. Out comes that. There's the entire old MOSFET right there. So right now, we've removed all of the electronics except for the selector board. The kit that we purchased, which is the 08 upgrade kit, does not include a new selector board because the 07 to 08s are all still the same. So as long as you still have a Systema spec selector board, you shouldn't need to change it out. So what we're going to do first, here we're going to take this piece and we're going to cut open the little package. Here's the new board. We're going to hook up the selector piece and press that in there. And you'll be able to tell which slot it goes into because the selector board only has 3 wires and there's only one 3-conductor slot. The one for the MOSFET has 4 wires, and so there's a wider slot for it to go into. So here, we're going to feed the motor wires down through the small hole in the receiver. So we'll run our control cable through there. And your control cable is going to sit down here in the slot next to the gearbox, between the gearbox and the body. It's going to plug in right here. Make sure that we don't pinch it as we push the ECU back into place. You also have to make sure that it doesn't get in the way of the trigger. There we go. Down in there, we're going to run the wire right alongside there. And we're going to use a small little plastic piece, and it sits in there. Basically, that just holds the wire down in there, so when you have the gearbox or the receiver split, that you don't get it caught on anything. So there's that. New ECU's installed. We can go ahead and put the bolt catch back in. So drop the spring down in the hole. Put the bolt catch in place. Put the pin right back in there. So there we go. So now we're going to take the new motor that it came with. We're going to put it in here, making sure we pay attention to which one is a positive and which one's a negative. The red is the positive, so it's going to face towards the front. So when you put it in here, put it in, turn it till it lines up. Gonna go ahead and put the motor pins back in. Sometimes they can be a pain, and you definitely probably need a hammer. Right now, the pins are being extremely hard to get in there, so right now I'm just going to put one in, and we will come back to that at a later time. So we're getting ready now to solder the wires onto your motor. If you don't know, the long wire is the one that runs to the positive side, and the short one is your negative wire. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead, the wires for the motor already come pre-tinned, but we still need to tin up the connections on the motor. There are a couple different schools of thought of where you should solder the wires to. Direct from Z-Shot with Wallace, he says to solder them directly to the motor tabs. There are lots of other people online who say do not do it to the motor tabs. Welcome to choose however which way you do it. For this video, I will be doing it the way that Wallace advises us to. Alright, so I've got those tinned up. Now we're ready to go ahead and solder on the motor connections. As I stated, the short one is going to be your negative and the longer one is going to be your positive. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start out with the short one and the negative. And I'm going to take just a pair of pliers and I'm going to bend this. Don't need a very sharp bend. I just want it bent a little bit so that I can get it to fit onto the connector motor tab just a little bit easier. Alright, there we have the negative. We'll move on to the positive. So for this, on the positive, you're actually going to run it over this side of the motor and come over the top and back down onto that motor connector. So again, I'm going to give this in just a slight bend to make it fit on where I want it just a little bit easier. Alright, so we've got our motor leads on there, and we've got that set up. So now, all the electronics have now been changed out. In the 08 kit, some of the other things that it includes that we're not using because we already have 08 stuff in here is the triggers changed from 2007 to 2008, so it included a trigger. We don't need it, already have a correct one in here. Also comes with a motor plate or a grip plate, whichever you want to call it, holds the grip onto the motor. This was the box that the motor came in. It also includes I think it's a pair of rubber gloves. I didn't bother opening it, don't need them. It also comes with a little CD-ROM with a bunch of different stuff that I'll probably tell you how to do this, but we don't need that. We just do it ourselves anyway. And that's pretty much it. Alright, so now we've finished everything. We've come back, we've got the grip on, we've got the buffer assembly, we've got the stock and everything put on here. So just showing, got everything in here, plug your battery in. As you can see here, working exactly as it's supposed to. So, throw the upper on it, and here she is. Good to go. Ready to go have fun.